YouTube gang, spiritual family, retention squad. What's going on, everybody? Cheers. Enjoying one of the few vices I have left, just my espresso habit in the morning. My God, do I love it. All right. So before I get into the topic, this channel just broke 1,000 subscribers, which is shocking to me. I didn't expect that to happen. So first of all, thank you guys for the support. It means a lot to me. It's really cool to have this outlet to be able to talk about real subjects that most people don't want to talk about, to a group of people that are on a similar path and care. So shout out to you guys. You guys are awesome. I'm glad to have connected with so many similar minds. So on that tip, what I want to talk about in this video is kind of like the dark side and the light side of relationships, and what that means, like how that helps create the society that we live in. How, like, one way that you could look at society other than being this very synthetic matrix sort of like system of energy harvesting for humans through the credit system and the medical system and all of these systems. We've talked about this. It's one way you can look at society as human ant farm type of thing. Another way you can look at it is more from like the bottom up perspective, which is to say that, you've got communities that are built out of families, and families are really built out of initially the relationship between a man and a woman. So the relationship between man and woman is very important. And the way the culture is right now, you guys, I think this is something we can all agree on, no matter what your kind of like political leanings would be. I think we could all agree that, like, culturally things are degrading. And what that looked, what the definition of degradation is to you might depend on what your value system looks like, and that could change depending on, how you were raised and your life experience, et cetera, et cetera. But I would say, generally speaking, we could agree there's been a degradation that has occurred. Okay, we've gone from singing love songs to twerking pretty quick, right? Can you imagine what, our grandparents' generation would have thought of Cardi B, or even Britney Spears for that matter? Can you imagine? Just go back and check out the music your grandparents or your great-grandparents were listening to. I'm one of those weird, younger people that I played, swing era music. So I study this stuff. So I know all the lyrics in these old love songs, man. They're romantic and sweet. And occasionally they're like maybe a bit risque, as it were. They might like imply something sexual, but it's like in a very innocent kind of way. And for the most part, it's about like love and romance. There's very little sexual innuendo, or definitely no direct sexual stuff going on. Whereas nowadays, you listen to the lyrics in some of these songs, it's unbelievable. These are pop songs. This is stuff kids can easily hear this on their phones. And then you've got people making excuses for it. People saying, this is a women's liberation thing, or this is like, I get to speak my truth. We have this thing now in the culture. It's a word for it, moral relativism, where it's like my truth. Well, I feel this way, so that justifies this action or this action, and then the lines start to get like really blurred as to what's right and what's wrong. The lines are blurred as to what's male and what's female. Even there's this blurring of the lines, and the way I was raised, there is right and there is wrong. And I'm kind of coming back to my roots in that sense, because I did fall victim to this kind of new age mentality of moral relativism for a while, where it's like, well, maybe it's not okay for this person to use the X, Y, and Z substance, but it's okay for me because I'm an artist, and I'm living in my truth, kind of thing. Or I've known other people where it's like they'll have multiple partners and they'll say, well, I'm polyamorous. You know, that's how God made me. I'm just polyamorous, so I have multiple partners. It's just the way I am. I'm living in my truth. You know, you guys know what I'm talking about. So this phenomena, my truth, you know, this means like you get to make the rules, and if you get to make the rules, then like what is right and wrong? Then it's whatever you say it is, and then it's like, well, where's God in that? That means now you've become your own God of your own universe, and a lot of these people in the world right now are maybe aware of this, maybe they're not, but they become their God of their own little universe, and it's like a lot of it's very fictitious. It's a fantasy, and it's not rooted in reality. And you know, people tend to have rude awakenings eventually if they live this way long enough. They realize that there is right and wrong, and there are consequences for wrong action, and there are consequences, you could say, for right action too, which are that your life is going to become more ordered. You're going to experience more peace, more contentment, more meaning in your life if you're taking right action rooted in objective truth and righteousness, which hot take, I think something called the truth does exist. Some people might argue with that. So back to relationships. All right, so you guys, semen retention, celibacy, this type of practice, this withdrawing from the world. You know, it doesn't even have to be specifically the sexual transmutation practice, but any way in which we're withdrawing from the ways of the world, from the culture, from the direction that the culture is moving in, right? When we withdraw from that, we are now part of the solution to the problem, right? This is what needs to happen. In order for things to change culturally, in order for us to reverse this degradation that's happening culturally, where you've got all manner of perversion being defended, even to the extent, I don't know if you guys caught, but even Netflix was putting out stuff that was like celebrating pedophilia, and it like, people started canceling their accounts and saying something. Eventually Netflix took down that particular movie that I'm talking about. But you've got this very slippery slope going on where it's like, well, if it's okay to have your 7-year-old change their gender and declare their sexual preference, like, what next? You know what I'm saying? So this to me is a very clear issue. Not just that, but it's sort of the fact that a lot of people in the world that have issues, myself included, these issues stem from the family unit, their family of origin issues. They have to do with the way you were raised. Maybe you were neglected, or you were raised in a toxic environment. Your parents maybe had a codependent relationship, and you were exposed to that chaotic energy growing up. Or people are oftentimes have kids, by accident, and then the father's not around or the mother's not around, etc. There's so many different versions of infinite different versions of ways that some level of toxicity in relationship between man and woman led to a child being traumatized in some way, that led to them acting out in some way, that then led to other people getting hurt and traumatized down the road. And then the cycle continues, and you have this world full of hurt people hurting people. And where does it stop? Where does it end? How do we break this cycle? How do we become part of the solution? And you guys, this is why I'm personally really excited that this channel has grown. It's not even just for selfish reasons, but just to me, it's evidence that more and more people are starting to do things in a different way, and to decide to withdraw from this over-sexualization that's going on in the culture, and really stick to that. That's a huge deal. That turns us into the best versions of ourselves. Slowly over time, the more we are investing that energy into ourselves instead of putting it outwards or always looking outward for some solution, the more we go in, we become these really solid individuals that really have a lot to offer. And we start to develop a connection with God, which gives us a little bit more discernment, more wisdom, so that we can operate better in the world. And that gives us the opportunity to possibly have a relationship with the opposite sex that's actually going to be like healthy. So relationships, as I see it, are really, they should be very, very spiritual, sacred situations where the two people, their presence in each other's lives accelerates each other's evolution. I think any relationship that's truly healthy is not necessarily going to be easy. It's not always going to be smooth sailing. There's going to be things that come up. But those are going to be things that the two people are able to grow from and work through together as individuals and as a unit. And their ability to sort of work through stuff together and sort of reflect truths about each other to each other that they may not see on their own outside of the context of that relationship, right? A relationship potentially, just as easily as it can be a toxic thing that's bad for both people, it could be a really healthy thing that's good for both people. And if that's the case, and that relationship leads to kids, then those parents now have the opportunity to actually be really healthy for those kids and create a new generation of people that have a much better chance at avoiding a lot of the stuff that we had to go through, you guys. And we have a chance of helping create a much healthier world this way. So to me, this work is really important, not just on a personal level, not just because it helps me heal and it helps me have more energy and focus and discipline and all of these positive things, but I'm also contributing to something greater, to a greater cause. And all of us are, you guys, all of us men that are doing this, we are contributing to a shift in society and culture. And if this shift continues if it expands and it grows enough, it could make an enormously positive impact on the future, you guys. So I think that's amazing. I think that's encouraging. I think that's motivating, as far as staying on the path goes, and as far as having the courage to be open about this too with people. If people want to know how it is that your skin's so healthy, how do you have so much energy, why are you always in a good mood, it's okay to just out with it, say I cultivate my sexual life force energy, or however you want to put it. But anyways, all right, you guys, I got to get on with it. Peace and blessings. Thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you to all you guys. The comments have been amazing. I get a lot from you all, so I really appreciate that. Peace.